Hello everyone, I am Surrendalot Reviews and I'm back, and I'm ready to look at some more Generation 1 Transformers. But before I get started, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if I can't convince you, perhaps this picture of my cat will convince you. And random fact about my cat society is that they decided to put Pennywise in charge of child safety. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the first episode we're gonna look at is Thief in the Night, which is the episode that got Casey Kasem to quit. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the episode starts with the Autobots basically discovering that Trypticon might actually still be alive after he took quite a beating from Metroplex the first time around. And, well, meanwhile on Carbonia, yeah, as it turns out, Trypticon is being taken care of by Octane here from last time. And, well, the leader of Carbonia is getting a little tired of Octane's presence in Carbonia. So, there's this exchange here.
As Supreme Military Commander, King of Kings, and President for life of the Socialist Democratic Federated Republic of Carbonia, I order you Decepticons out of my country by sunset tomorrow!
Out? You're kicking us out? Us?
You have until sunset tomorrow, or I will call in the Autobots and have you executed in the town square.
Hold on there, Supreme Whatever! Who's gonna guard your coastline if you don't have us?
I will install radar-guided rocket defenses.
Trypticon and me want to turn your country into a paradise.
It already is a paradise.
Just a minute. I mean a rich paradise. Do you like gold?
Gold? Yes, this is something that interests Abdul Fakati. But it would take all the gold of the United States to persuade me to let you stay here another day.
You sure ain't easy to please, Your Excellency.
Yeah, this episode, with this here, yeah, that's the reason why, Casey Kasem quit, because, yeah, this here was, really offensive to him, because he's actually Lebanese, and, that's also why we don't see Cliffjumper very much more, or Blue Streak, or actually a lot of characters that Casey Kasem quit, so if you're wondering why we don't see them anymore, that's why. Anyways, so Trypticon goes about stealing Fort Knox, and he also goes about stealing the Taj Mahal and the Eiffel Tower, and, well, the Autobots are on the case and realize pretty quickly that, yeah, Trypticon's really the only one who could have actually, stolen all those artifacts, and also another thing is they figured out where Trypticon might be. And another thing is that Galvatron decided to go into Carbonia to get some Energon, and yeah, the Decepticons are going to try to steal the Kremlin, and in the process of Trypticon trying to steal the Kremlin, he ends up getting stopped by Metroplex, but unfortunately, the whole world now thinks that the Autobots are stealing the buildings. But luckily for the Autobots, they end up catching a surprisingly convenient break, because the leader of Carbonia would actually like for them to invade his country. And they do. And they end up kicking the Decepticons out, and yeah, he gives his word that he will, in fact, not work with the Decepticons anymore, which actually makes him a lot smarter than a lot of other Decepticon collaborators. Okay, I will say this for this episode. This episode has not aged the best. Yeah, with, very much how offensive that, general guy is who's in charge of Carbonia. I can see why Casey Kasem quit, and I really think maybe they should have probably looked at that and thought to themselves, maybe we probably should not do this, like, at all. And yeah, I think the plot itself is actually pretty interesting, and I think it works for, like, Season 2, but not so much Season 3, but that's really all I gotta say. But I think with that, on to the next episode, which is Forever is a Long Time Away, where the Autobots go back in time to save the future. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the episode starts with Blaster, Perceptor, and friends going to investigate a bit of a time disturbance in an asteroid belt, and they find out that the Quintessons are really the ones behind this time disturbance, and, well, in the fight against the Sharkticons, some of the Autobots, led by Blaster, end up going through the time window, and, well, something's a bit strange about keeping the time window open for too long. And this time disturbance includes Alpha Trion being in the present day, and Blaster and friends actually being sent back to the past before the Great War, and they're currently having to fight this giant Guardian robot, and they're about to be pretty well squished by it. But luckily for Blaster and friends, they're saved by someone who turns out to be an Autobot from the ancient past when the Quintessons still ruled Cybertron. And unfortunately, the Autobots in the present are probably gonna maybe have to do something about the time window, because as this Quintesson here so kindly explains it.
Let me explain it, Commander. Those rings are ripples of chronal energy. If the window isn't closed in the next hour, those ripples will spread through the universe. From Cybertron to the humans' planet Earth and beyond into infinity, to jeopardize the stability of reality itself. What precisely is going to happen? Everything! Some events will repeat in an endless loop. Other phenomena may reverse their natural order. Past and present will collide.
Evening, Captain Fairborn. Standard target run?
Try level 3. I feel like a challenge tonight.
Captain Fairborn?
Ultimately, as every natural law breaks down, the universe will cease to exist.
And so the Quintessons decide to attack the time window, but unfortunately they fail pretty badly because, well, the space-time continuum is starting to destroy itself, and, well, they are forced to retreat. And also, the space-time continuum is kinda starting to destroy itself even more, and they only have 10 minutes to shut the window, or else the universe will cease to exist. Meanwhile, with Blaster and friends in the past, well, they end up trying to attack a Quintesson stronghold, but unfortunately they get beaten pretty badly and are basically surrounded by the Quintesson forces, and in the present, the Quintesson scientist manages to convince the Autobots in the present to maybe shut the time window before space and time end up destroying themselves. But before the time window closes, pre-Alpha Trion, or Alpha 3, ends up going to the past to basically get the current present-day Autobots to go return to the present, and, well, they do, and then Rodimus Prime ends up closing the time window, and the space-time continuum is saved, and the episode ends. And overall, I will say that this episode is a lot better than I remember it. I will say as a kid, I didn't really like this episode, but I think that's more or less a thing of I didn't really understand this episode, and I really like how, the Autobots and the Quintessons are having to work together to basically shut down this time window that the Quintessons probably should have known better than to create, because otherwise then, this time window will quite literally destroy everything in the universe. And I really like how the Autobots were sent back in time to, before the Autobots successfully threw off Quintesson rule, and how they actually got to kind of help the Autobots then, and how the Autobots were also basically viewed as slaves, and how the Autobot symbol was kind of viewed as more disgraceful in the past, but now it's kind of viewed more as a symbol of pride. And I also really like how A3 basically is Alpha Trion. I thought that was a really nice touch, and overall, I highly recommend this episode. I think it's good. But I think with that, that's gonna do it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.